everybody, it's Sam Amico of hoopswire.com here with the 330 to go Cavaliers NBA show. Sorry for the late start. I know that you were all waiting patiently right at 5:59 for the show to come on live. I have the green behind me because this is as close as I'll get to a green jacket, and it's Masters Week, so I'm celebrating this way. At least that's my excuse anyway. Anyway, today I have a very special guest, a longtime friend, although I haven't seen her like live recently, Gab Kreuz. I don't know how I'd best describe you, Gab. Cleveland sports personality.
Yeah,
right?
I guess it is kind of tough because I kind of bop around, but Cleveland sports personality works.
Yeah, I think that's it. A really good personality, by the way. Cleveland, really
Thank
good
you.
sports personality. One of the nicest, just best people I know. And I obviously our jobs have changed a lot. At least we don't get to connect as often as we used to. But now I don't know that this was your start, but there was a time that you were working for or doing some work for Amico Hoops. I guess that was probably what, during the championship season, 2016?
2016. Yeah, it was my first year like out of school really. So I definitely could say that you were kind of my first job, so to speak. I really wasn't doing much. It took me a while to get a real job.
Yeah, but you know what? You were right away a go-getter, and that's what you got to do. I mean, you came and contacted me, and I was like, sure, that'd be great. Love to have you help. But couldn't really pay you much, but I just liked your enthusiasm.
Sam, at the time, I was stoked that you paid me anything because I worked so many unpaid internships that I was starting to believe I wouldn't get paid in my job at all. Like, I was like, do people really make a career?
Yeah.
So I was actually really jazzed to get paid anything to write an article.
Yeah, and you did such a good job. And then I'm gonna let you kind of go over your background, but I remember that. Well, obviously, right now you're the in-stadium host for the Guardians.
Yes, on the weekends.
Mm-hmm. On the weekends, and did you do some work for Channel 19 too? Still doing that, or?
I do some feature segments for Channel 19. I have a little contract with the Browns to do some preseason segments that are also kind of more featurey in nature. And yeah, I'm on two Big Play podcasts. They're sports shows. So we've got Hanford Dixon. So he has his show that I help co-host, and then we've also got the Big Play Cleveland show. So I'm also helping on that as well.
Yeah, the Big Play Cleveland show has just taken off too. I mean, that's gotten so big, and I've been on there a few times with you and Dave. So, yeah, I think, Gab, you're probably the one person that I'm always like, oh my gosh, there's Gab. Like, I turned on Channel 19 once, and there you were. I didn't even know you were working there. Then all of a sudden, I see you with the story on there. And then there was a time, I think probably like 2019 or something, I was scrolling through the Associated Press wire to look for stories for Amico Hoops. And I'm like, Gab's writing for the AP in Arizona right now? So I had no idea.
But see, that was another one. I paid my own way at that time, but I did get paid to write the article. So I don't know. It kind of canceled each other out.
Right. Yeah. Hey, free trip.
But it was a great experience, though.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really good. And I think that just shows, in our industry, I don't know about other industries because this is the only one I've ever worked, but you really have to be versatile. You have to be able to do a little bit of everything. And you're doing, obviously, you've done writing, you do broadcasting, and you do kind of pumping up the crowd, which you do you were born for that. You were born to pump up the crowd.
It's funny. I enjoy it. I think I realized kind of early on, I'm like, it's not a job that challenges me a ton. So which is why I kind of peeled back to just do weekends. It's a very fun atmosphere and a fun job, but it's not as like, I like to be challenged, so I've stuck with it though because, like you said, Sam, it's just really I really love being a hype woman. I just like being that in general to other people, and the fact that I can do it for our team is just I don't know, it's fun. It's one of those things that I know it's not the most challenging thing I've ever done, but it's hard to leave because I just enjoy the people and I like working outside. It's just a good vibe.
Yeah, that's probably the nice thing too, is that you're, unlike the Cavs announce or Cavs in arena hosts, you get the joy of the weather on top of everything else. So,
And it does get crazy, obviously, sometimes with Cleveland weather, but it's all part
yeah,
of the experience.
right. I'm sure. So, where are you from originally? I know we've had this conversation, but
I'm
I'm
from
getting old.
Lakewood. Yeah, I'm from Lakewood. I was born in Cleveland, and grew up in Lakewood, and I'm actually back in Lakewood. I really love it because I'm close to everything. We got our Metro Park system, and I'm kind of close to Rocky River. There's a lot that I like to go to in Rocky River, and I'm just 15 minutes from downtown. So
Yeah, that's great. Now, I half expected when you were going to come on here that you would be like holding your phone and running while we had
right.
this conversation, because you're a big runner. And every time I see you, which is nowadays on social media, you're basically running. And I
Yes, I
remember
don't
when we first talked, you were like, "Hey, I just got back from a run." That was our first conversation. So,
probably, when we got chatting, I was in really good shape 2015, 2016. I had just gotten done with school and I just didn't want to waste it all. I was in really good running shape. Um, and then I just decided in December, like, I think I'll start running again. I haven't gone very fast
oh
or
wow,
far. I'll say
no,
that.
that's yeah. Hey,
But I'm on this run streak where I've gotten it done every day. And some of it's really pathetic. Like I was sick for probably a month and I ran like up and down the street once and I was like, that's gonna have to be the run today because I can't breathe. I thought I had pneumonia. I've never been sick that long, so I'm so happy and blessed that it's over with because we take our health for granted. I was like, every day I'd wake up, I'm like, this will be the day it's over. And I just had the worst chest, head, I couldn't
really.
hear, throat, I
Oh my
lost my
God.
voice. It was wild. So happy to be out of that, but still getting a little jog in every day.
Yeah, well, that's good. I was probably not in shape in 2015, 16 when we started talking. I don't know that I am now, but for a while there, I was going at least 2 to 3, 4 miles every day. I was working on my speed. My oldest boy he's on a track and cross country scholarship. So he kind of like challenged me. And I did it for about 2 years. And now I'm going like 1 mile or 2 miles 3 times a week if I'm lucky. Sometimes
Okay,
just
well that's still good. For me, it's like 8 to 10 minutes a day. I don't know. I just decided maybe I'll try a different angle and go consistency, but not kill myself. I'm experiment. This was you know how you have to play mental games with yourself to run because nobody really
yes.
likes running.
No.
Maybe there are people who do like running, but it's a really weird thing. Nobody loves it. You get addicted to it somehow because it humbles you, and then you're like, I have unfinished business, and you just play
Yeah.
mind games. So I
Yes.
have I have noticed that I just decided to do this thing where I was like, instead of trying to get in shape all at once, why don't I just challenge myself to run every day? Because that in my mind felt easier than trying to be like, oh, I got it. Because I already know all the mileage I've put in my life and what it means to be in shape. And I'm not going to be able to jump into that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, why don't I just jump in with something every day? And then I can live with the fact that it's not as crazy as putting in I was running like 60 miles a week at one point. So, and
Wow.
anyway, that's what I'm doing. Just a little jog action.
Well, you could have told me you were running 20 miles a day and I would have believed it based on your social media. So you should have just said that. Yeah, I run like 15 miles every day. And then we could
No,
have
I
just left
can't
it at
fake
that.
it because you know why? Because I signed up for the Cleveland Marathon 10K, and everyone's gonna know how
Oh,
not really in shape I am. But
okay.
I'm in some kind of shape, but I'm not fit, as my Syracuse coach would say. There's a difference between being in shape and fit, and I am just not fit, but I'm in shape.
There you go. Well, that counts. And you, speaking of which, you went to John Carroll and then Syracuse, or was it the other way around?
I went to JCU and then Syracuse. Yep.
Okay. Wow. And Syracuse, obviously, a wonderful campus, really good journalism school. Did you major in journalism? Because I didn't.
I so I was one of those kids who probably should have taken off after college just to see what I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have like a dream. You know, a lot of people are like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a nurse. I want to do this. I really didn't have a clue. So I majored in the most basic thing you can, which I already inherently know how to do, which is communications. It was a very broad, that's communications. Like that was it. And then at the end of school, I was like, oh crap, I don't know. I feel like I don't have any specialized skills. And I had just gotten an IV of iron, so I started to run a lot fast. I didn't know I was anemic, like iron deficiency anemia.
Oh wow.
So I got an IV of iron, and then my time I started to ball out running my senior year, and I had 1 year of eligibility left. So I'm like, okay, I'm weighing my options. I could have gotten a scholarship to go to OU and do a master's there, but it would have had to have been 2 years. And Sam, I couldn't do another. I wasn't a school person. I didn't want to be in school for 2 whole more years.
Right.
So I actually forwent that opportunity and decided I'd go to Syracuse because I could run my last year of eligibility and knock out a 1-year master's. So it was only 1 year of school. So, and I was enticed by going out of state and how cool Syracuse when I visited. I was like, yeah, let's do that. So I knocked out that 1 year at Cuse.
Okay.
And got to run. It was really cool. It was really crazy turn of events because all of a sudden I got to run with this national championship team, and I was like teacher's pet because I came from Division III, but I had just kind of hit my stride, pun intended, because I got this IV of iron, and who knew? I thought I got performance enhancing drugs, but no, I just got oxygen like to all my muscles. So I ended up being pretty quick and like being able to compete with the people on scholarship. And so the coach kind of like made me the teacher's pet for sure, because here I was the walk-on, and I think he like just he ruffled some feathers. I made a lot of good friends, but his approach was kind of using me as the person to like push everyone else. But it was a really cool culture and experience. So that's what I did for that year.
That's really cool. Maybe, do you have any more of those like iron injections? I could probably use some.
Seriously, I always tell people, check your ferritin. So during COVID, when I lost all my jobs, I started helping my high school, St. Joe's, their track and cross country team. Right. And now I always tell the girls, you're not mentally weak. If you're getting out there and running and you cannot breathe and the season has progressed and you're getting slower, check your iron. It's not always that you're not mentally tough. You know, people will say, oh, you're just weak. No. Like there's definitely, you're crushing red blood cells every time you hit the pavement. And especially for women with that endurance sport, I always say like, just check your iron. It's super cheap. Like your insurance will cover it, and it'll help you enjoy running a lot more. So go ahead, Sam, check your ferritin.
Wow. And you speak from experience. That's something else. So I did not know that we're going to talk about the Cavs here in a minute, but you lost all your jobs during COVID?
Oh yeah. I was doing weird things during COVID. So I lost, I couldn't do the in-park hosting. We weren't doing like, I don't know. Yeah, no, Channel 19, that stuff got put on hold. I started working for a chocolate company down the street from me. And then I picked up coaching for my high school, and then I was babysitting.
My gosh.
I was just doing weird stuff just to like stay afloat because I couldn't do nothing. But yeah.
What did you do for the chocolate company?
Oh, glad you asked. I had to like schedule social media posts, and I got to taste test some of the chocolate and take videos of, it was like Willy Wonka back there.
Wow.
Personally, I thought it was cool. I was like, oh, look at this machine. Look at the marshmallow thing. Look at the chocolate, So I was taking video of the behind the scenes of the chocolate factory, and then, or I call it a factory because they do make it in-house. And then Sweet Designs in Lakewood. Shout out to them. And yeah, so I was taking pictures of the desserts, and we'd have like a chocolate of the week, and we'd try to do giveaways on social media and things like that. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Exciting stuff.
I don't know that I would ever, is there an opening there? I don't know that I would ever quit that job.
I know what a great retirement job that would be. I already
Right,
thought
yeah.
about it. I'm like,
Sit
that
around
would
and
be
eat
something.
chocolate.
Yeah.
So you have been doing the Cavs thing, or I'm sorry, the Guardians for what, like 5-6 years now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I tracked
Yeah.
you down at a game once, if you remember that. I was like, there's Gab. She's busy. I'm going to bother her.
There I
And
am. Always bother
you were
me. Yes,
you
of
were
course.
gracious enough to come over and say hello and hang. You're always so nice. Are you always this nice? Have you ever been mad? Let me ask you that. I've never
People
seen
at
you.
work ask me that. People at work ask me that. My coworker had a really funny analogy. Jeff Streit said one time. He was like, the equivalent of Gab being mad is like someone. I don't know. He used some dumb analogy, and I
You
started
know what it's
laughing. But
like? It's
I was
like
like,
the eclipse. It happens like once every 100 years.
I think I get impatient in the car, like when I think that's where it comes out. My misappropriated irritation or whatever will come
Yeah.
out in the car, you know? But other than that, I would say I lean more joyful. I do lean more joyful unless I'm really hungry or tired. I don't know. But, it's never that serious.
Yeah. I probably get hangry. And my mom always says, you never get mad. You're always, which mothers are going to say.
Yeah.
But she's pretty right, except for she's never been in the car with me. The things I say when I'm protected
Yeah.
by metal and glass and have the
Right.
ability to get away at 70
It's
miles an hour,
yeah, it's
I would.
something about being detached or disassociated to some capacity because we're all in. I don't know. You're not face to face with someone,
Right.
but
And
I
they're
understand.
automatically all idiots. Everybody
Right.
else on
It's
the
just like
road
it's everyone
is an
else's
idiot.
fault. Like,
Right. Right. I got mad at a guy who pulled in the ATM before me the other day.
yeah. Oh, you know
And
what?
he
I'm
was
glad
just
you brought
living
that
his
up.
life. He was just
No,
living his life. And I got mad at him.
I'm glad you brought that up because another weird irritation that I have, I notice it comes out. So it's not that I get angry, but it's like I have an irritation and I'm like, that's not rational. But but I noticed two of them. Okay, so if I'm at the gym and God forbid I'm running on the treadmill, which doesn't happen often because I hate the treadmill. But
Yeah.
I was trying to keep my streak alive and we had really bad weather. I noticed, and it's a me problem. I think I'm a little claustrophobic on the treadmill, like, when someone runs on directly next to me on
Yeah.
both sides, I
Uh-huh.
start to get a little panic.
Yeah.
So, it would irritate me if there was so many of them open and someone would come right next to me. I'd be like in my head, I'm like, like, "Why did you
Yeah.
do that?" And then so that one is one, and then the other one, like you said, the ATM, someone pulling in front of you first. It's like okay, it's a natural occurrence, like, it's gonna happen,
Right.
right?
This is
But
right.
that is how I am when I go to Chipotle. I swear I've never been to Chipotle and I'm not walking to the door and just someone just gets there. I watch someone go to the door first. Like I can never be first in line. It can never be my day. It's like I'm walking there, I'm starving, I'm so excited, and just someone slides by because you know what? I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to wait behind them now.
Yeah.
And that's just
And they order like 17 things.
that
Yeah.
always and yeah, it
Yeah.
just always seems to happen that way. I'm like, there it is. What is
Yeah.
it? Life, death, and taxes? Well, life, death, and I'm always behind someone in Chipotle.
For hours at a time, it feels like.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up the treadmill thing because that just happened to me the other day. I was running, the treadmills next to me were wide open, and then a guy he comes on the treadmill, and I'm just like, really? And then someone else came on the other treadmill, and I felt like saying, hey, I was here first. These treadmills, you don't just get one treadmill, you get three. You get the one you're using and the two directly next to you. And
Yeah.
I even looked around. And I'm like, there's so many other treadmills around without people, which I don't know. I would be like, my goal would be not to run next to somebody. So if I see open treadmills not next to somebody, that's the one I'm going for.
I
But
wonder if
anyway,
yeah, that's interesting. We should do a social experiment. I wonder what the correlation is with someone to voluntarily. I don't think I would voluntarily choose
no,
to run right next to someone. You
of
know what I
course you
mean?
wouldn't.
No, you
Yeah.
space it out a little bit, like an
Yeah.
elevator, like the bathroom. You know what I mean? You
Right.
just kind of space it
Right.
out a little bit.
Yeah. No. I don't know. Maybe we're the weird ones for thinking that
Maybe
way.
we are. Well, this was our next Twitter poll
Yeah, there we go.
or X.
Yeah. So, okay. So the Guardians, you've done what? 2 games? 1 game. 0 games?
To be
this
honest,
year?
I only worked the home opener. I know we're 9-3.
Okay.
I know I was at the Cavs game last night, and I know it was
Right.
a big walk-off thriller. The Naylor brothers just showed up in the extras in the 10th. So that was exciting. And it's funny because I was busy next door at Rocket Mortgage just watching the Cavs play.
Yeah. So did you go to the Final Four women's tournament?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Did you?
I did not. I actually, unfortunately and fortunately, I have a job where I have to cover the NBA at all times. So I can't be pulled away from it too long. And then the championship game, the Cavs were playing the Clippers at the same time or right around the same time.
Yeah.
So I actually, that game was a road game. So I was kind of flipping back and forth. But yeah, I really wanted to see, I thought it would be a bigger deal to be able to see the Thursday night game, or I'm sorry, the Friday night when Iowa was playing Connecticut. And I watched all that game from home. I didn't know that Iowa would have a chance against South Carolina because nobody had a chance against South Carolina, it seems. So
Right.
were you able to go to the whole thing?
Yeah, so I ended up it wasn't the most financially savvy decision I've ever made. Because I forgot to put in my request for a media pass. You had to do it 2 weeks or like however many weeks in advance, and I was behind the ball on that. So I was faced with on Friday. It really hit me. I was like, man, I really want to go though. I don't think we're gonna see this kind of exciting matchup for a long time. And Caitlin Clark and all this stuff, and UConn and Paige Beckers and South Carolina, Dawn Staley, and it's all right here in our backyard, and it's women's sports and it's basketball. And I was a basketball player growing up. So I'm like, screw it. I bit the bullet, and I got tickets for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I kind of worked like a little work angle with it, and I took some behind the scenes stuff for this other guy I know. So I was able to, get thrown a bone for doing that. But yeah, basically it was my own little investment for my own entertainment because I just was so stoked about it.
Yeah, I imagine it really, and I know a lot of people have said this, but it really is true. To me, when you think about when I first started covering sports, forget the NBA, when I first started covering sports for newspapers, women's basketball was kind of an afterthought. I mean, we made sure that we ran the scores and the updates, but there just wasn't the audience. And now it's like, I wish I had a women's basketball website because I'm sure it would just do so well.
I know they're on the up and up.
It's really grown. And I think that it's kind of odd because as great as Caitlin Clark and these other girls are, I think that it really there's historically been some really good players.
Oh yeah.
That we haven't haven't gotten the attention.
And I feel bad for them. I mean, I had their posters. I had Sue Bird poster growing up, and I Lisa Leslie was already a phenom by that point. She was already, but and then Diana Taurasi. It's crazy because there wasn't social media when I was a child.
Right.
And I'm if anyone who meets me would voluntarily say I'm a little bit flighty in the sense of I don't always I'll miss certain things here and there. And as a kid, I can be kind of forgetful. I'm very type B. I've got my brain's in a lot of places. But I knew what was happening with women's basketball as a child.
Yeah.
I was up to date, and I was so interested, and I knew who the names were, and I obviously got a chance to watch them play. I don't know how, it's not like I went to a WNBA game, but it must have been TV. That's why I think it's so fascinating. I'm I didn't have social media, but I was definitely invested. And it's just funny to fast forward, like you mentioned, all those players. Imagine if we had, I think it was a crossroads between the advent of all this social media.
Yeah.
Utilizing those platforms to market, and then also having the talent. And it was that trifecta that really finally got them out there to become, so people could really see why it's cool and why the individuals are cool, because you get tied to players. People really like people's
Yeah.
story and their swagger and just so I think that's been part of it. Is it just with social media helped out, but those players from the old time, I don't want to say old times, but you know what I mean, the generation prior.
The
It's
legends, right?
it's too bad the
Yes.
legends didn't get. They needed more flowers.
They really did. I mean, because there were some amazing players dating back to long before I even followed it, but like Cheryl Miller, and who was kind of really the pioneer of putting women's basketball on the map, kind of that, the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson of, and Reggie Miller's sister of women's basketball. But yeah, I mean, now it's just taken off, and I think that it's really a game that I know a lot of NBA scouts I talk to just absolutely love it because it's so fundamentally sound, and you don't have necessarily the huge egos because they're appreciative. It seems like the female players are very appreciative, and I haven't run into huge egos in the NBA. Don't get me wrong, but there's just a perception thing.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody's you're always very humble when you're kind of coming up,
Sure.
and I think that, or at least have that reputation. And I think that the women's game really has a lot working in its favor, that, like you said, we're just now getting a chance to find out about that, it seems. And I think it's been great. I mean, Caitlin Clark, I said this on my show last week, I think. There's not a more popular athlete in the world right now. I mean, she really is. She just kind of like became, as I said, Gab, the Taylor Swift of
Yes.
of
No.
basketball. Really,
That's a great analogy. I think
that's
where
what I'm
it
here
goes
for.
to
Great
show.
analogies.
Yeah, people really hook onto like these characters and their story, and
Yeah,
anytime you're the best at something, you're gonna capture people's attention, and so I think it's cool. I think it's really, you're right. She is the Taylor Swift of basketball right
it
now,
really is.
collegiate basketball.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that'll create a lot of interest in the WNBA because, fittingly, she's going to go to the Indiana Fever at number one, and then number two, I suspect Angel Reese is going to go to the LA Sparks, which is going to be just
Here we go.
booming for the league. Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's going to really create a lot of interest in what's going on there. So
I also think that the men who have tried to popularize women's sports has been huge. Like from
yeah,
Kobe Bryant, being so invested and being like, "Hey guys, this is cool. Like you should think it's
yeah,
cool too." It's funny, they also needed a little bit of that push. Like almost needed the men to say it's cool, because it's always the men who are bashing in the comments, like, why would I
yeah,
want to watch a slower game and they can't dunk and they're not athletes? And it's like, okay, it's a different game for sure, but it doesn't mean it can't like be fun or enjoyable
no,
or
yeah,
capture your attention with these players and the villain. That's what Angel Reese is, and
yeah.
and then and Caitlin Clark even has her own swagger. So it's not to say that they aren't fun. They just needed a little bit of a boost.
Yeah, and you're right. It's a different game, but it's a much more fundamentally sound game. And I think that the games in their own way are absolutely just as exciting as the men. I really do. It's
Oh yeah,
a different type of basketball, but it's just like if you went to a high school game or a small college or regular college game, you got to watch those games differently than you would, say, the NBA, where they're taking 43 pointers a game and it's all three
right,
pointers and dunks.
right.
It's a different game, and I think it definitely has its absolute pluses. So
I really enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it was. I really enjoyed it. I think I was a little bummed for Clark on the Friday game, the semifinal
yeah,
game. She didn't really come out too. And when I think about it, that would have been the game to have a slump. All
yeah,
that they did to muscle past Angel Reese,
yeah,
and she's got this target on her back, and it's crunch time, and they've played this whole season. And I was like, you know what, that makes sense for that. Like she's probably gonna rebound on Sunday, and she did. So,
yeah,
um, but yeah, Sunday's game, great basketball, like
yeah,
thoroughly
for
enjoyable.
sure.
I got a migraine because I was so invested and I wanted to see Caitlin go all the way, but I knew South Carolina. I mean, there's no beating that. They were just strong, like through and through. That was they were better. They had more pieces, point blank. So
Yeah, and what a great story they were too, going 38-0, and Dawn Staley, was
Yeah.
always a great player and just a fantastic coach. Seems, and I covered this before, but seems like a really great person. Everybody who covers her really likes her, and her
Oh, she
players
was
love
so cool.
her. So, yeah.
Yeah. Her interviews were really cool. I mean, it's hard to hate on her.
Yeah. You always want to root against somebody who's going 38-0 because it's like, well, you got to see, because everybody they play is going to be the underdog. So as
Yeah.
somebody who roots for the underdog, but no, they was really, really handled it with a lot of grace and class, and
Yeah. And she gave
there was
Caitlin
no
the shout
arrogance.
out
Right.
at her, when press conference or whatever, or at post game speech. So it was cool. It was an exciting time.
Yeah. So, okay. Usually, Gab, I talk about the Cavs here. And wait, Mike is asking us if we think Caitlin will entertain the Big Three offer. For people who aren't aware, Big Three is the, dare I say, washed up men's league of 3-on-3 players owned by Ice Cube, but they're not really washed up. They're just, a lot of them are guys who have retired and just didn't want to, go through the grind of the NBA anymore. And Ice Cube has offered Caitlin $5 million to play in the Big Three League, which would be, I believe it's coming up. It's in the spring. And then she could still play in the WNBA. And the WNBA, Gab, I'm not positive, but I think the top salary there is like $75,000.
Is it really?
I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
I think
the
there are
top
some
salary
players
in the WNBA.
There could be some that are making like $2 million or something along those lines. So don't quote me on that.
Wow.
But it's a lot. You're not going to make $5 million in WNBA in your first year.
Okay, sure. I didn't realize it was that
it could
low.
be 200,000 or something, but it's not that high.
Okay, crazy. Yeah.
When you compare it to other professional leagues.
Sure.
And I think some of the top stars. I know. I mean, the fact that Ice Cube is throwing her $5 million, or offering her $5 million to do this, to play in the Big Three, and I think it's just for this season.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's not like you have to play in the Big Three for forever. It's just like this year.
Like here it is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, she addressed that. I think at the Elite Eight was when somebody asked her about it, and she said, right now, obviously, haven't even thought that far ahead.
Yeah.
Very flattered, but that wasn't really in my wheelhouse, is kind of the way she put it. And so, I'm sure that she's going to make $5 million anyway. So, because of endorsements and those things, especially once she gets to Indiana.
Sure.
She's going to get all kinds of local endorsements, and not to mention nationally. But so that's something. And Mike, to answer your question, I'm guessing that she doesn't do it. And again, this is just pure speculation and guessing on my part, only because she seems like she's going to be so locked in on doing what she needs to do at WNBA, doesn't want to risk injury. She knows she's going to make a lot of money in the WNBA. And I just think that would probably be it. If she did it, I'd be like, yes, awesome. But I'd be surprised if she did.
Yeah, that's interesting, because it seems like a cool opportunity. But like you said, I think the biggest thing in the way is the injury aspect. You wouldn't want to get injured right away, and then you're kind of already starting off on the wrong foot for WNBA action.
Right. Yeah, and Gab, if Ice Cube wants to throw $5 million around, I'd be willing to split it with you. You could be like the hype girl for the Big Three, and I will be your friend.
Yeah, we will.
That's the only skill I have.
I'll have to keep practicing my outside jump shot, but listen,
there you go.
I'm still a nightmare on defense.
Yeah, I was always terrible on defense.
Yeah, I do think I saw the little comment pop up. I do think Nike, she'll get a big deal from. She's gonna, the millions are gonna be fine. So that's why, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if she just kind of turned down the Big Three offer thing.
Yeah, and that's right. Shoe companies always come through too. So, anyway, you were at the Cavaliers game, and
It
Was that
wasn't
your
the
first?
blowout we expected. I think they were favored by 19 points, and um, all of a sudden, I was worried.
Yeah, they were down 3 at halftime against a really bad opponent. Just really seemed sluggish and rusty. Now, Gab, they have 2 games left, home games. Indiana Pacers, which really is like a playoff game on Friday night, because if the Cavs should win, they will probably get either the 3rd or 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. If Indiana wins, they'll probably get the 3rd or 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, and then the Cavs would be probably 5th or 6th, which means you lose home court advantage.
Home court advantage. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure all this out before or today. I was like, okay, so because I think we were 5 yesterday. Now we're 4, right?
Right. Yeah. Because Orlando lost, the Cavs won. Okay. So, in fact, I don't know if you can see that graphic there.
Yeah, I was just trying to look at that. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're 4. And we would, I think.
They played Orlando?
What I was trying to figure out was, because I was thinking worst case scenario. I was like,
yeah,
what would have to happen for the Cavs not to make the playoffs? That's how my mind was working, because I was like, I just wanted to prepare myself for the worst. I was like,
true
what
Cleveland
kind of
fan.
You're right. I was like, what has to happen for them not to make it? Because all I need to know is how difficult that is, and then if that's, I think they have to lose out, and then somebody else has got to lose. And I was like, okay, all right, so
they could, if they
to
lost
drop to the
games,
play-in game.
Yeah, to drop to the play-in game. That's still not out of the question, but they would have to lose both home games. I mean, if they do that, then you deserve the play-in game, because
I know. Yeah.
Their last game's against the Hornets, which is, obviously a very winnable game. The Hornets are playing for the draft lottery position. So, the biggie is they have to win. They have to win Friday. That's because if they don't beat Indiana at home, I think the problems, that they've had recently are going to be magnified, and people are going to feel like, oh, they're backing into the playoffs, which absolutely they would be.
Yeah.
And then they would need a lot of help to avoid. I don't think that they're going to fall to the play-in tournament, but they would need a lot of help to avoid that 6th seed, in which you lose home court advantage, and then you would be playing probably, if I had to guess, the Knicks in the first round. Only the Knicks would have home court advantage. I think it's vital for the Cavs to win both these games and get home court advantage in the first round.
We need that home court advantage, yeah.
That's huge, especially if they can finish 4th. I think if they beat Indiana, then Orlando's going to finish 5th, and that's the ideal first-round matchup for the Cavs. So there's really, usually I come on here and talk about the Cavs for 35 minutes, but there's nothing really more to be said than that. You just have to win Friday. You just have to win that game. It's like a playoff game. It's like March Madness in April, really.
And then you start to think about which players really need to step up. And like two things that stood out to me last night, and obviously that's just my small sample size of seeing in person, and you just pick up a little bit more when you see it. I think I need more from Darius Garland. Like, I just need him to he looked like, to me, how Caitlin Clark looked on her Friday night game.
Right.
I was like, I'm going to need you to make a little bit more of those, more of your shots. And then the other thing was, I need him to get mad. The only person who gets mad is George Niang. I saw him just, and I love that it's George Niang, because here he is, this guy who is not your prototypical looking NBA player, but he's brings the energy. Okay. He'll be the first to tell you, like, cause I did an interview with him, and I remember him being like, we were trying to stage him blocking me or something. And he made a joke about himself. He's like, no, don't have her lob the pass. Like, I don't jump that high, so my point is, he'll be the first to say he's got some limitations. He's not like the LeBron James out there, but he does bring at least an energy or an edge that I see. And that's what I want to see more from more players, is like, you got to get pissed off. Like, if you're losing, this is a team you should be blowing out, and like, crash the boards. So I was just kind of getting fired up last night because I'm like, all right, I need somebody get mad. And it seemed like it was only George. I think he got teed up. Yeah, they got a double technical at one point.
Which is not a surprise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I think that's, you're preaching to the choir there with Garland. Has been obviously not probably, his worst season since his rookie year. And he's still been good. He's been a fine individual player most nights. It's just kind of seems, since he's come back from his injury, struggling to fit in. But as far as like the intensity, I think, yeah, it's a team-wide thing, and that was lacking last year against the Knicks. And I think that, they're pretty aware that they're going to have to be a little more, I don't want to say tougher, but yeah, tougher and just more, I don't know, more determined, show more determination.
Yeah, bring an edge. Bring an edge.
Right.
And then you wonder sometimes how much of that is on the coaching. I don't know. This is what Twitter gets into. Is it the coach that sets the tone or whatever? Like, because I work in the baseball world, and one of the things that I grew accustomed to was how Tito, sometimes a lot of it is theatrics almost. Yeah. But he'd get into an ump's face. He'd try to get ejected sometimes. Like, he'd try to throw a fit because he wants to almost make his guys upset too. Like, he's going out there to bat for you, but they all know that it's really their fault because they should be up by more runs right now. And Tito's trying to show that I'm upset, I'm invested, and I care. And and he does his thing and he throws them out, and then everybody is like, yeah, I'm all revved up, like I'm down for the cause. So I don't know. Then it kind of begs the question too sometimes, is there a little bit of coaching both from the type of approach he has to coaching, and then also like what you're drawing up for these guys, but who knows? Yeah,
no, I think, it seems to be right now, it seems to be a little bit of everything, but I can tell you this, which we this from sports, from covering sports, whether it's baseball or football or whatever, win a game, win this big game. And then all of a sudden the narrative and probably your own outlook on yourself and what you can do changes.
Yeah, so, it can be that instant too. So you're right.
You win the game Friday against the Indiana Pacers, a game you have to have, which I think the Cavs are going to be favored at home. And you do that, and then it's like, yeah, see, we're fine. We're back. We just need to get back home and get a few things cleaned up because, I mean, even at their worst, Gab, right now, this has been the worst they've played this season over the past 2 or 3 weeks. They're still in fourth in the Eastern Conference. They still have home court advantage in the first round, and they could pretty much lock that up with a win on Friday. So, for all our complaining that we do as fans and media and, they need to do this or they need to do that, they're one of the top 4 teams in the East, despite everything. So I think we can lose sight of that sometimes. But anyway, I'm just rambling right now, which is what I'm so used to doing on the show. Before I let you go, because you've been with me probably a lot longer than I said you would have to be, or that I asked you to be, which is I'm just taking advantage of your kindness.
Oh, good. So, of course, I'm glad.
You're probably when you hang up, you'll be mad. You'll be like, if Sam wants to see me mad, now's the time. And it's all his fault.
Watch out, world.
Yeah. I would probably pay good money to see you mad for 2 minutes. I don't want to make you mad, just because it would be so out of the ordinary. So it'd be like, a YouTube show. Gab gets mad.
Mad Gab. That was a game. I used to love that
Mad
game.
Gab. Yeah.
Well,
we'll see. It's great. It's great. I really appreciate you joining me. And I think it's great that you do have such a glowing reputation. And I can see why, because
I appreciate that.
Just one of the nicest people I've ever come across. You were always helpful with Amico Hoops when in your run there. So I think I showed you, I still have the video of when you interviewed me after a game for the website. That's really cool. My kid, I had it on TV once. I don't know why. It was on my YouTube channel or something, and Reese, my youngest, saw it and was just so glued in. But yeah, so thanks for joining me. I don't think there's anything else that we haven't possibly covered.
Yeah, we went around. I think we hit our bases, baseball pun intended.
Yeah,
But
good.
yeah, no, thank you for including me and for back in 2016 giving me a chance to just kind of do anything out of school.
Yeah, I was very fortunate that you called because you in your short time, and I'm glad that you moved on to bigger and better things. But you made a nice contribution then. So
Oh, well, thank
I was
you. Yeah, it was a
grateful.
great opportunity for me and I really enjoyed it. And it was man, like it was cool at the time to be able to go and have press access, so I was
Yeah,
just like reading the notes and like I was all jazzed. So thank you.
yeah, yeah. That was great. So. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this time. Thanks to Gab for joining me. And then next week, Thursday at 6 o'clock, we'll be doing this again live. And we will. Everybody who watched, thank you so much, and we will talk to you next week.